Doron, now you are in Mexico. The first question, it's important. You speak about being Jewish, dating Jewish, learning Jewish, teaching Jewish. Why is so important to be Jewish?
Great question. It's nice to be here in Mexico with you. Thank you. It's interesting. I was on a plane once, and in the seat to the right of me was a Chinese person, and the seat to the left of me was an Indian person. And I was thinking to myself, wow, we Jews always say that we're an ancient people, we're an old people, but there were Chinese people 4,000 years ago. There were Indian people 4,000 years ago. So what's the difference? And I thought about it, and I looked into it, and I realized, you know what? It's not true. I'm sure there were people living in China 4,000 years ago, of course, and very nice people. They don't speak the same language as the Chinese people today. They don't have the same religion as the Chinese people today. And because of mass migrations and movements over around Asia, many of them are not even the actual descendants of those Chinese. Same thing with India. By now, different religion, different culture, different language, mass migration in subcontinents, not even the same people for many of them. So what's interesting is that we Jews are the oldest people on planet Earth. There's nobody who's been here longer. We are almost 4,000 years old.
But somebody can tell you and ask you, and what's that important? It doesn't matter if you are older or not. There are new cultures, there are new things. Why you have to conserve and have everything that it was some many thousand years ago? So why not to be new?
Yeah, so I'll answer you this way. The fact that we're the oldest people on the planet, it's not just a statistic, it's not just a curiosity. It indicates, wow, this is something special. If you had asked a sociologist, an anthropologist, a historian 3,000 years ago, 2,000 years ago, 1,000 years ago, or 70 years ago, what people is the least... So if you had asked a historian or a sociologist thousands of years ago, or hundreds of years ago, or 70 years ago, what people is the least likely to survive, they would have said us. Persecuted, exiled, kicked out of the country, small, without a land of our own. It's amazing that we survived. And furthermore, let's think about what happened over those thousands of years. They just gave out the Nobel Prizes this year for 2013. And I don't know about the last two, but the first 8 winners, 6 were Jewish. If you look online at nobel.org, I have a book on the subject called Why Be Jewish? And in that I list part of this. Turns out that the official number of Nobel Prize winners is 22% are Jewish. Unofficially, it's about a third. I was speaking in Stockholm a few years ago, and that's where they give out the Nobel Prizes. And I had a guided tour, and I asked the guide at the end, he said, do you ever talk about the fact that so many people here are Jewish? They order kosher food every year. And he said, we're not allowed to talk about it. Meaning, it's an incredible thing. So a thinking person is going to look at the fact that, my gosh, we're the oldest people on the planet. We've had an incredible, incredible influence and impact on the planet. Science, technology, medicine, literature, philanthropy, giving, everything. And it indicates that, wow, there's something special here. There's something not just normal. There's something that inspires me, that I'm part of something bigger than myself. So that is the beginning of a search for why be Jewish. That's the beginning of a search of why it's important. Some of us feel it's obvious to us. Some of it's the beginning of a search to help us figure out why I want this to be part of my life, how it can be part of my life, how I can pass it on to my kids. And the initial way is just learning and thinking and growing. And then you get a sense of why it's important.
So it's important because I can get a Nobel Prize, or it's important because it's a way of living, or it's important why it's important. Because you told me, you learn, you see it, it's history, you can get a Nobel Prize, it's something special. But what is that so special about being Jewish?
So what I'm trying to say, let me try and say it in different words. What I'm trying to say is something completely different. It's not about getting a Nobel Prize. If you met somebody and this guy's name was John, and John won the lottery today, Wednesday, and tomorrow, Thursday, he won the lottery again, and Friday he won the lottery again. And next Sunday he wins the lottery again. And Monday wins the lottery again.
I want to meet him.
Right?
I want to meet him.
and then you see that it was written in a book by John's parents. 30 years ago. You find the book where it says, John, you're going to win the lottery 5 times in a row. So what does that make you think? It makes you think, oh my gosh, there's something special here. I want to understand it. It's not normal. It's not about winning a Nobel Prize. It's about thinking about, wow, maybe there's something to being Jewish much deeper and more important and more beautiful than I ever realized. And when you look at the history, and you look at how long we've been here, you look at our impact, and you see that this is all part of what the Bible, the Torah actually talks about, it makes a person think, wow, I want to be involved in this. I want to continue this because it's bigger than I am. It's special. It's unique. I don't understand it, but I want to be part of it.
All right, tell me something. What is to be Jewish? Because somebody will say, you are a religious person, you are Jewish. You are not a religious person, are you a Jewish? You are an Israeli. Now it's hard. What is to be a Jewish? You already told me that you have a book about it. What is to be a Jewish people?
Look, there's technical answers and there's identity answers. You know, technically you're Jewish if your mother was Jewish, or if you went through a traditional and Orthodox conversion. That's technical, whether you're Jewish or not. But to feel as a Jew and to be able to pass it on to your kids, that means that you're connected to what it means to be a Jew. That you're connected to this idea of Jewishness, this idea of Judaism, this connection to God, this connection to history, this connection to our ancestors, connection to the future. It's being part of a collective whole. You know, I tell people that you're videoing this right now, that life is like a video. It's not a snapshot. It's not just a photo that, oh, this is the Jewish community today. You know, when, God forbid, someone in Europe does something to a Jewish cemetery that's 500 years old, it hurts me because that's my people. We're part of something bigger, and that's part of the search. Everybody has to find their own answer to your question. But the answer begins with the idea that there's something more here than I realize. There's something deeper and more beautiful. And reading about it and learning about it and going to Shiurim, going to classes, visiting Israel, that all builds that identity for each one in their own way.
All right. We will continue this later, but now tell me, you're going to be here in Mexico some days. What are you going to speak about it? What are your goals?
So,
what is your goal? What is for whom is this all these talks?
The talks are welcome, open to everybody. So we're speaking right now. It's now Wednesday evening. So I'm going to be speaking now about why marry Jewish and how to date Jewish. Important for young people. Why it's important and how to prioritize finding a Jewish spouse.
I think that's important because somebody says it's the same, and happens with a lot of divorced people that say, all right, I was already married with a Jewish princess or with a Jewish prince. I don't want that.
Right.
I found somebody that is nice, kind, but it's not Jewish. So that's why it's not just for young people. It's also for people now. What there is divorces are many more than.
100% right. 100% right. And we'll talk about that tonight. Tomorrow morning, it was Thursday morning, we have a class for women on how they can improve the marriages. And we're doing
what men need, that's obligatory for all women.
Correct.
All men are sending our wives here.
Right. You probably won't want to send your wives after.
All right.
And on Shabbat, we'll be talking to both men and women about marriage improvement. But then again, tomorrow night is a very important class. It's something that I speak about in a lot of cities and countries. It's called Raising Kids to Love Being Jewish, which is for if your kids are young or your kids are teenagers or 20-something, doesn't matter, or for grandparents on how to keep families Jewish. It's not automatic anymore. It's not like it was 20 years ago.
Right.
Kids just stay Jewish. And then over Shabbat, we have, here in the shul.
Success 3G.
What?
You have Friday night, Kabbalah, you have Success 3G.
What?
Success
Happiness.
at 3G, something
Happiness
like
in 3G.
happiness.
Yeah.
So,
Happiness, being happy, and the keys to happiness. And we have a class on improving one's marriage. Also a very interesting class that something that really helped me in my life. It's called the Kabbalah of Success and Failure, meaning how to deal with difficulties in life and how to grow from them. And then on Saturday night, once to Shabbat, I actually will sadly leave you, and I fly overnight back to the States, and I'll be in North Carolina. So I hope to meet you in the next few days.
all right. We will do more of these interviews. Now we let you because you have to go there with the people. And thank you to being in Mexico. And it will be very interesting. Come here. It will be in Sharibina. It's Fuente de Ánimas, 7. It's a very nice place, and you will enjoy it. Not only you, the people who will see it. Not just because of Doron, because all the place it's nice and you breathe very nice.
Thank you very much.